Welcome to our Insight series on organizational well-being. Our question for this week is, what is the best logic framework to use in employee wellness programming? Number 14. In answering the question, what is the best logic framework to use in employee wellness programming, I'd like to share with you something that was developed originally by Dee Eddington, a colleague friend of mine who's no longer alive, but it is an approach that I've found very useful over the 40-some years that I've worked full-time in employee wellness programming. And it begins with the outline of needs and targets. And they can include the interests, and we will go deeper into each one of these four areas over the next several weeks. But it can include the interests that employees have about wellness-related topics. It can include a look at the demographics of the population, their health risk and the prevalence and severity of those risks, injury-related risk, home, vehicular, recreational, as well as work-related risk and injury risk, chronic illness prevalence, disabilities, absenteeism experience, medical costs, presenteeism experience, and well-being issues. So if we consider these as needs and targets, these are oftentimes the place where our goals of our program help articulate where and which things we're going to work on. We then usually go through some sort of planning process. We use a 6-step planning process for the WellCert program and the WellCert certification program. And it begins with identifying which of the wellness strategies, feel good, traditional, or results driven, that we use. It has to do also with establishing both an administrative infrastructure and a technology infrastructure to actually disseminate or distribute wellness support. Step 3 involves planning the marketing and communications for the program. Step 4, planning the health management process, which is primarily the testing and tracking functions and how we use those in helping people make long-term behavior change. Step 5, we plan the group activities, and that's where we're working on peer support. We're working with groups of people. Step 6 is planning the supportive environment. That's primarily in the actual environment that the work is taking place in and that the employees inhabit, as well as the policy framework which guides employment policy, benefit policies, and other types of policies. So once we've gone through this 6-step planning process, we end up coming out with a set of targets and a set of interventions. We then move into implementation of those. And when we do the implementation, we also have an opportunity to look at intermediate results. So our logic begins with needs and targets that we address because our goals specify which of those we are going to work on. We then have a planning process which produces a series of targets and interventions. We then have an opportunity to look at some behavior change in the population. We can use what are called the cohort reports from our health risk assessments and or biometric screening or preventive screening activity. We also can measure some of the health aspects and health status aspects of those screening activities and or the health risk assessment. And we can also ask people questions about how do they feel about their productivity, about their health, about their resilience. So there's a number of things that we can look at as intermediate results to determine whether our programming that we've implemented actually, in fact, helps identify what those intermediate results are, so that we know that people are, in fact, changing their behavior. They're actually getting healthier by measurable tests and means, And we know that they are, in fact, responding differently about how they feel about their productivity and or their health. The last of the 4 boxes are our ultimate results, and they're broken into economic benefits, which is return on investment, and we look at health plan costs, sick leave absenteeism, workers' compensation costs, disability insurance, short-term and long-term, and presenteeism costs, which are work loss that occurs when I stay at work, but I have an underlying health problem. The other benefits are oftentimes called value on investment, and we don't quantify these into financial or monetary numbers. What we do is look at ways of capturing information about work-life balance, stamina and resilience, interpersonal skills, positive attitude, strength and flexibility, the physical dimensions, company loyalty, morale and recruitment effects, retention of current talent, and turnover. So these ultimate results become the things that we look at the intermediate results to help us feel and perceive the causal or attribution of the wellness program to these intermediate results, and then ultimately to some results that are in both the return on investment and value on investment scope. In addition, we have a feedback loop that basically takes us back into the next planning cycle. So if we're doing annual planning and annual programming, we in fact can make some adjustments in the needs and targets that we approach. We then want to make some adjustments in the targets and interventions that we identify, and how we in fact measure and look at some of the intermediate results and trace those over to the ultimate results. This constitutes a logic framework for how we might look at what we do in workplace wellness. And I believe it is the best logic framework that we can use to help management understand our approach to employee wellness programming, and to be able to validate and to make sure that our programs are well funded and well supported. In summary, it is vitally important that we have a logical structure to guide our programming efforts in workplace wellness. Senior managers expect that you will have and use a rationale and rational approach to improve the health and well-being of employees and their family members. Within the WellCert program, we call this construct the results-driven wellness framework. Now, for more information on this topic, put the following search strings into your web browser: the logic of employee wellness programs, the logical frameworks for employee wellness, and the logic of wellness programming. Next week, we'll address the question, what are the major needs and targets that employee wellness programs should address? For more information, visit our website at www.chapmaninstitute.com.